Hello, students. So in this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am going to not write anything in this video. I am simply going to kind of just show you and walk you through the different steps to solve because I have tried to make this video 5 times. And every time I have either messed up my writing, I've been interrupted, or just like it just hasn't worked out. So this is the video that I'm just going to explain. So I wrote down all the notes off camera and I'm just going to kind of walk you through them. So hopefully this is a pretty short video because I'm not writing anything down. But here we go. Hopefully you don't take your notes in pencil so you're not like Miss Walker and messing up in pen over and over and over again. And then finally deciding, you know what, we're just going to talk the notes out today and not write them down as we talk because for some reason it's just not working out. So here we go. Now that we understand how to convert all of these numbers or all the different kinds of numbers into fractions, decimals, and percents, now we can order them. So if we're asked to order numbers from like least to greatest, greatest to least, we can be able to convert them all to the same type of number so that way we can order them in the proper way. So I'm going to do 2 examples. The first example here, I'm going to show you by converting the fractions into decimals. It's a personal preference. You could also convert the decimals into fractions and then order them that way. But it's kind of up to you. You might need to think about like the actual steps. Like, okay, if I actually convert these to decimals, like, is it going to be a lot of steps? And if it is, maybe it's less steps if I choose to convert everything into fractions. So it just depends. So if I want to convert to one form, for this, I'm going to convert into decimals. So I need to convert 5/8 and -4/3. So if I wanted to convert 5/8, I have to do 5 divided by 8. So 8 goes into 5 0 times. But if I keep my decimal point, 8 goes into 56 times. Bring down the 0 to 20. 8 goes into 22 times. The remainder is 4. And then 8 goes into 45 times. So the decimal is 0.625. You'll notice I put a little negative sign here. This is kind of for the explanation down at the end. For the purposes of the actual problem, we're going to treat it like a positive number. And then if I want to convert -4/3, this is equivalent to -1 1/3 if I put it as a mixed number. And then as a decimal, that's going to be -1. And then 1/3 as a decimal is one of those like benchmark decimals. It's just 0.33333 repeating. And if you're like, Miss Walker, like, where did you get that 0.33 repeating? If I set up a long division and did 1 divided by 3, that is what I would get. I would get 3 repeating over and over and over again. So these are my 2 decimal versions of these fractions. So if I wanted to order them from least to greatest, the smallest number is going to be -4.3 because that's farthest away from 0. Then it's going to be -1.333 or -4/3. Then it's going to be -1.25 because that is just slightly closer to 0. Remember, on the negative side of the number line, this is actually going to be closer, not farther away from 0. And then the last one's going to be 5/8. And I even wanted to point out, even if this was a -5/8 or 0.625, -0.625, that would still be the largest number because it's still the closest to 0. It's automatically already the largest to 0 in this example because it's positive and the rest are negative. But even if it was a negative, it would still be the largest number in this case. So this is an example of ordering the numbers by converting all of them to decimals. The next example, I'm going to show you kind of how to do both ways. If I converted all of them to decimals or if I wanted to convert all of them to fractions. So here's what the second example looks like. So you have the numbers 1/3, 3/10, 35/50, and 35/100. I converted, so you'll see 2 ways. I converted all of them into fractions. So 0.3 is 3/10. 35/100 is 35/100. If I simplify the fractions that need simplifying, this one simplifies to 7/20, and this one simplifies to 7/10. And so then if I wanted to order them from least to greatest, 3/10 is smaller than 1/3, which is smaller than 7/20, which is smaller than 7/10. Now, if you have trouble kind of ordering fractions, if you're like, oh, I would need to find a common denominator to really know that, I would suggest decimals because decimal places are pretty easy to determine the order. So if we wanted to flip and convert them to decimals, 1/3 as a decimal is 0.33 repeating. You could do 1 divided by 3 to figure that out. And then 35/50 is going to be 0.7. So the way that you can figure that out, this I did not write, so I will add it. 35 over 50 could be rewritten as 70 over 100 if I multiply both of these by 2. And 70 over 100, or 70 hundredths, looks like this. 0.70, which is also just 0.7. So that's where the 0.7 comes from. And then 35 hundredths is already written as a decimal. So if these are your decimals, now you can order them. 0.30 or 3/10, this right here, that's going to be the smallest. Then it is going to be 0.33333 repeating, because 33 is bigger than like 30. Then it's going to be 0.35 because 35 is bigger than 0.33333 repeating. And then it's going to be 0.7. So this order here is the same as this order, except they're in the fraction and decimal form, versus the fraction form. So you personally just need to decide to convert one to one form or the other. Think about the original video where we converted fraction decimals and percents, and determine what you think is the easiest for yourself, or maybe look at your numbers. I think it was personally pretty easy to convert these to decimals, because this converted into something out of 100. So it was pretty easy to write the decimal. And then this is a benchmark decimal. Like, it's just one that we use all the time. So it was kind of easy because we knew that one off the top of our head. So that personally made this aspect easier to me than fractions, but you can do it either way. So for your practice questions, you need to order them. I don't care if you order them least to greatest or greatest to least. I believe in the table of contents, I have put them least to greatest, but you have 3 that you need to do. So let me zoom out so you can see the entire set. So here are your practice questions. Order them from greatest to least or least to greatest. Determine if you want to convert them all to decimals or all to fractions. I did throw in a percent in this one, so make sure to either convert that into a decimal or a fraction and then compare it with the others. As always, if you have any questions, please ask your teacher. Check your answers to these practice questions in the table of contents, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.